Awesome. So welcome back to our series of the foundational terms that allow you to be on the right side of a conversation respectfully and with understanding in a cross-cultural communication. So this video is going to be about cultural appropriation. So this is a hot topic, and I think that it's an awareness even through a lot of us who are like, oh, well, I don't appropriate. We need to define what that means and what that looks like so that we end out on the right side of a conversation. So Alanna, talk to us about cultural appropriation.
So there are two main ways of cultural appreciation. There is cultural appropriation, I apologize. There is cultural appropriation, which is a culture taking and annexing and claiming exclusive possession of something that they really have no right to claim to. And this is more explicit, like somebody saying, well, white people invented the art of braiding hair, so I should be able to braid my hair however. That is something that would be more explicit. And here's the thing with that, nobody can claim that they did hair braiding first. That's just not really a thing. Every culture at some point has braided hair. However, certain braiding techniques are more significant to other cultures. For example, African American hair does better as a protective style with box braids. That is actually a very unhealthy hairstyle for somebody who has my textured hair. And so if somebody is taking that out of that culture because they think it looks cool and they're not understanding why it's significant, that would be a more explicit version of cultural appropriation. The second form of cultural appropriation is to take or make use of something without the authority or right to, and without fully understanding it. This is where a lot of people get into trouble around Halloween, of somebody wearing a war bonnet as a costume and not understanding the cultural significance of a war bonnet to Native Americans, or even dressing as a nun or a priest and taking advantage of, Catholic culture and things like that. Or, dressing up as a certain deity that might not be from your culture, like a white person dressing up as Papa Legua from the Yoruba tradition. A lot of times people think, oh, well, it's Halloween, cultural appropriation kind of doesn't necessarily exist at this point in time, but I encourage you to recognize that cultural appropriation is never really acceptable, and we can't make excuses for it just because we don't necessarily like being called out for our behavior immediately. We just need to take that as an example and just say, thank you for pointing that out, and I will examine myself a little bit more next time before I do this.
I love it. That is so educational because, being part Navajo, I think a lot of times people come to me and I don't even really understand when they are being, appropriate or not appropriate, or how that happens. And so I kind of look back and I say, what about you? Where do you come from? What is your belief structure? What is, going back to that word culture, and recognizing that. And I think that you threw down some very interesting points. So I guess I won't be dressing up like a nun for Halloween. So. So thank you again. Did you have any last final words with cultural appropriation?
I think just, again, it goes back to kind of the appreciation thing of, if you wouldn't want somebody to do it from something that's culturally significant to you, don't do it to somebody else's culture.
I love it. Keeping us on the right side of a conversation. And although you may run with a bunch of people that say, oh, no, I'm fine with that. If you're going to be out in public, you want to stay on the right side of that conversation with awareness, because, although ignorance is bliss, we don't want to be on the wrong side of that conversation or disrespectful to a culture. So thank you so much for that. And I look forward to the next short video.